Good morning and welcome. I'm Jackie Kiffmeyer, principal of Oshkosh North, and I am so incredibly honored to be celebrating our veterans today. We thank each of you for taking time out of your day to gather to pay tribute to those who have served our country. At this time, if you know someone who is serving, who has served our country, will you please stand? Take a look. Veterans Day is larger than ourselves. Nearly every one of us knows someone who is or has served our country. Thank you. You may sit. Today is a reminder of all the men and women who have given of themselves to protect our freedoms. Veterans, the Oshkosh North community is so grateful for all you have sacrificed in order to protect our freedoms. It is my pleasure to welcome our MC and Student Council President, Kabao Yang.
Good morning, students, parents, community members, and our honored guests. My name is Kabao Yang. I am the Oshkosh North Student Council President. I will serve as your Master of Ceremonies today for our program. Would everyone please rise and remove your headwear as the color guard performs the presentation of our nation's colors. Please remain standing and face the flag and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right now, our Oshkosh North Chorale would begin singing the national anthem.
Oh, the Spirit when free men shall stand between their loved homes and the war's desolation, blessed with victory and peace, may the hem-rescued land praise the power that hath made and preserved us a nation. Then conquer we must when our cause it is just, and this be our motto: in God is our trust. And the star-spangled banner in triumph shall wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
please take your seat. Thank you to our music department for always doing a wonderful job with our national anthem. We are proud to welcome our guests to the 9th Annual Veterans Day program at Oshkosh North High School. We will continue to have this program annually as we pay our respect to the people who have made the ultimate sacrifice for the freedoms we all enjoy. It is now my pleasure to welcome our first guest speaker, Mr. Bob Hoffman, who we are honored to have present the history of Veterans Day.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Jackie and her staff for inviting me back again this year. And of course, the North teachers and the music groups. What a fantastic bunch of talented young adults. Give them a hand, huh? And you students, I salute you for all giving us veterans such great, what should I say? Welcome here. And of course, you veterans, all sitting out there. And you know, with history, this is the 7th time that we've had this get-together. And I can remember the first one, maybe about a third was out there. So thank you, vets, for serving this fantastic country. And history, as it goes, has always been a great subject of mine, favorite. We just added something with the 7th year. So we made history again today. And of course, history is all things that are past us or behind us, except as students, if you got a test tomorrow. And with that, I've been asked to give you the history of this fantastic celebration. World War I, known as the Great War, officially ended when the Treaty of Versailles was signed on June 28, 1919. However, the fighting ceased 7 months earlier when an armistice, or temporary cessation of hostilities, took place between the victorious Allies and the Central Powers. This armistice went into effect at the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, 11 a.m. on November 11th, 1918. In November 1919, President Woodrow Wilson proclaimed as November 11th as the first commemoration of Armistice Day with the following words: "To us, in America, the reflections of Armistice Day will be filled with solemn pride in the heroism of those who died in the country's service and with the gratitude for that victory." In June of 1926, the Congress officially recognized the end of World War I by a resolution which requested the President to issue a proclamation to display the flag on all government buildings on November 11th. In May of 1938, November 11th was made a legal holiday known as Armistice Day and was to honor the veterans of World War I. In 1954, after World War II and the Korean War had ended, Armistice Day became Veterans Day, and November 11th became a day of honor all American veterans of all wars. In 1971, the observance of Veterans Day became a Monday holiday. Many states and a great number of Americans did not agree with this decision. So in 1978, the observance of Veterans Day was returned to its original date of November 11th, regardless of what day of the week in which it falls. The observance of Veterans Day on November 11th not only preserves the historical significance of the date, but focuses our attention on the importance of Veterans Day, a celebration to honor Americans' veterans for their patriotism, love of country, and willingness to serve and sacrifice for the common good. On behalf of a grateful nation, I wish to extend to all veterans our sincere thanks and appreciation for securing the freedoms we hold so dear, those freedoms which make the other 6.8 billion people on this planet wish they could be here with us. God bless America.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffman. Our music department would like to play tribute to our veterans with a song entitled Armed Forces, the Pride of America. The selection will feature each branch of the armed forces. The orchestra will be under the direction of Miss Yukiko Grind. At this time, please welcome our Oshkosh North High School choral director, Miss Duffy Ulrich, with a few comments before they begin. Miss Duffy Ulrich.
Our Armed Forces Salute Medley recognizes each of the branches of our United States military. As we sing each service song, I will announce which group it represents. If you are a member of that branch, we invite you to stand as we present your song. On behalf of the music department, thank you so much for your service. The United States Army.
Over hill, over dale, we will hit the dusty trail, and the caissons go rolling along. In and out, hear them shout, counter march and right about, and the caissons go rolling along. And it's high, high, hee, in the field artillery. Shout out your numbers on and strong, on and strong. For where you go, you'll always know that the caissons are rolling along.
The United States Marines.
From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we will fight our country's battles in the air, on land and sea. First to fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marine.
The United States Navy.
Anchors away, my boys, anchors away. Farewell to college joys, we sail at break of day, day, day. One last night on shore, drink to the full. Until we meet once more, here's wishing you a happy voyage home.
The United States Coast Guard.
We're always ready for the call. We place our trust in Thee. Surf and storm and fire, I shall our purpose be. Semper Grantum sings our guide, our fame and glory too.
Thank you to our music department. We would like to welcome our guest speaker for today, Mr. Tim O'Brien. Tim O'Brien is a native of Menasha, Wisconsin, and graduated from Menasha High School. In 2004, while in the middle of college, he enlisted in the Army Reserve, where he served for 12 years and earned the rank of specialist. Mr. O'Brien served as a 92 Golf, a food service specialist with the 826 Ordnance Company, headquarters platoon in Madison, Wisconsin, until receiving an honorable discharge in April 2012. He attended basic training at Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and the Army Culinary Arts Program at Fort Lee, Virginia. In 2009, Mr. O'Brien deployed to Afghanistan in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. While based out in Bagram Air Base, his culinary experience was shelved in favor of running the customer service office of the Bagram Ammunition Supply Point. In addition to working the units to supply them with all their needed ammunition, he also flew on helicopter missions to bring ammunition to other units around Afghanistan and supported the explosive ordnance disposal teams with the destruction of found or damaged ammunition. His military awards and decorations include the Afghanistan Campaign Medal with Campaign Star, the NATO Afghanistan Service Medal, the Army Commendation Medal, and many more. He has a Bachelor of Arts degree in History and Secondary Education from UW-Milwaukee and a Master of Science degree in Educational Leadership and Policy from UW-Oshkosh. For the past 13 years, Mr. O'Brien has been a teacher in school districts across the state, including Milwaukee, Marinette, and here in Oshkosh. He currently lives in Menasha and helps take care of his grandfather, Wesley. And would you guys please all give a warm welcome to Mr. Tim O'Brien.
Good morning, staff, students, community members, and fellow veterans. As Cabal just said, my name is Tim O'Brien. I'm both a veteran and a teacher here at North High School. I've taught at North since the fall of 2016, but I became a teacher back in 2008. April 20th, 2004, while I was in college, finishing up my undergrad, is when I enlisted in the Army Reserves. I was a member of the 826 Ordnance Company, headquarters platoon, based out of Madison. My choice to go into the Army was a very personal one. As a little kid, my friends and I would play Army in the woods near my house. But as I got older, it always seemed like military service was for other people. I started to ask myself, why not me? Why is it always somebody else? What can I do to help? My girlfriend, my parents, my college roommates were not very supportive of my decision at first. But my decision to enlist was not about them. It was about me. It would be one of many steps that I've taken in my life down the road that I would learn is called selfless service. When I enlisted in the Army, they make you take a test known as an ASVAB. Your ASVAB score determines which jobs, or MOSs, you qualify for. When the results came back, I qualified for every job in the Army. Well, if you've ever been one of my students, you know how colorblind I am, and somehow I passed my colorblind test. Well, knowing my limitations, being a pilot or an electrician was kind of out of the question. So I asked if they had jobs in civil affairs, or in military intelligence, or scuba diving, or firefighting. And the only answer I got was not in my pay grade, or not in my area. I said, well, what jobs are available? And the sergeant replied with, you could be a truck driver, you could be supply, or you could be an ammunition specialist. Well, all of those jobs were in high demand, but I didn't want to do any of that. So none of it sounded interesting, so I said, do you have any cooking jobs available? She kind of stared at me and kind of gave me this unforgettable look. You can have any job in the Army, and you want to be a cook? I said, I've been cooking in industrial kitchens since I was 15, so I'll be probably good at it. Now let me clarify something. When I was in high school, I was a kitchen staff member for 4 summers at a summer camp, this one right here, in Wapaka called Camp Onaway. I worked in a restaurant in Appleton right out of high school. When I moved to Milwaukee for college, I got a job in a restaurant and then another. I was the head cook at this summer camp again while in college and afterwards during the summer, and then during the school year, I was a caterer for the largest catering company in Milwaukee. So I figured I knew everything and I wouldn't even have to go to Army cooking school. Well, fortunately, that's not the way it worked out because there was so much more to learn. A month and a half later, I was shipped off to Fort Jackson, South Carolina for basic training, and then bused up to Fort Lee, Virginia for my advanced and visual training as a food service specialist. When I got home in November, my unit was already deployed to Iraq. I was the only cook, so I was in charge of cooking for all the members of my company that remained. Fast forward 5 years, and my company was deploying again. This time, we were headed for Afghanistan, and I was not only going, but in charge of the kitchen section. But when we got in country, found out cooks weren't needed. It was all done by civilian contractors. So I got assigned to new jobs. At that moment, I became an ammunition specialist, the job I turned down when I joined the Army 5 years ago. My new job consisted of running the customer service office of the Bagram Air Force Base ammunition supply point. My job was to coordinate ammunition pickup and distribution for the eastern half of Afghanistan. Military companies would submit a request for ammunition. My bosses would approve or deny the request. My partner Lopez and I would coordinate with the companies when to pick up the requests, and my coworkers would pull the requested ammunition from the ammo yard. It was like working in an enormous warehouse, except all our products could explode. Day-to-day life during deployment gets monotonous when most of your time is spent sitting on a base. Fortunately, due to the nature of my job and the people I got to work with, there were many opportunities to fly to other bases, supply points, and outposts to deliver ammunition to companies who could only be supplied by Chinook helicopter. Lopez, myself, and many coworkers had the opportunity to make these flights and help out our fellow soldiers, Marines, sailors, and airmen. The 101st Airborne Division and the 82nd Airborne did the flying, but we got to help resupply dozens of other groups, both American and ISAF partner nations. I was also able to use my newly learned ammunition knowledge to help on occasion with explosive ordnance disposal blows. Working in coordination with the EOD companies operating at our bases, myself and many members of our company were able to help dispose of damaged, old, or found ammunition. When the Russian army withdrew from Afghanistan in 1989, they deployed millions of landmines through the country. Still today, those mines are found, and unfortunately, many are still active. So as part of the EOD blow, we would take old found Russian ammunition, new but damaged ammunition, and we get to blow it up. So this is just one of those missions that we got to go out on. This one's about 30 seconds. As it zooms back out, you'll see just how big these disposals were. This is me standing on the top of a 5-ton truck. About a half a mile away, and I still got rained on by shrapnel. This one we were a little too close for. Just say, don't do that again. When I returned home from deployment, a great deal of what the Army had taught me had become a regular part of my everyday life. The Army values of loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage were and still are to this day the driving forces in my life. Loyalty. Bear true faith and allegiance to the U.S. Constitution, the Army, your unit, and other soldiers. Today, I'm loyal to my family, to you, my students, to my fellow teachers, and to the people I volunteer with. I trust in them, and they can always trust in me. Students, as you continue to grow and learn, strive to be the friend your friends can always trust and turn to. Be the child your parents can depend on. Duty. Fulfill your obligations. I'm a man of my word. If I tell you that I'll be there or that I'll do something or take care of it, it'll get done. I will. It's not about recognition. I do my best to walk the walk and talk the talk. I don't know of a more school-appropriate value than duty. Each day, students, when you come to school, there are expectations set for you by your teachers, by your coaches, and mentors. Rise to meet those expectations set for you and strive to exceed them. Respect. Treat people as they should be treated. Respect isn't earned. It should be given from the moment you meet someone. Don't get me wrong, though. There's nothing wrong with losing respect for people, but everyone should start off with basic human respect without having to earn it from us first. I tell my students this at the start of every semester. Everyone in this class has an A. It's up to you to keep it. Students, each day you walk through the halls here at North, look for opportunities to show respect to those around you. Assume someone's intentions are good and approach opportunities with a get-to attitude rather than something you have to do. Selfless service. Putting the welfare of the nation, the Army, and your subordinates before your own. I'm a believer that you get what you give. If I put in time, brain power, and sweat, the world would be a little bit better in the future. It's not wrong to feel good when you're helping other people. That's one of the reasons many of you in the audience are here today. You're veterans, you're teachers, you're caregivers, and you're volunteers. Putting the needs of others first comes naturally to you. Me too. As my students, there are countless opportunities to put others first, to help make your school and your community just a little better each day. There's more to success in school and life than grades. You'll learn this when you put the needs of others before your own. Honor, living up to the Army values. Today, it looks like this. When I step into the classroom, I need to set the example for my students. I need to show students what right looks like. I need to create an environment where students can be all they can be and treat others the way that they'd like to be treated. Remember this, managers do things right. Leaders do the right thing. Students, you have such an impact on those around you. When you intentionally act with honor, you set the standard others will emulate. Remember, lead from the front. Integrity. Do what's right legally and morally. How do you act each and every day? People always say, dance like no one's watching. Well, how do you act when you think no one's watching? And if you think no one's watching in today's connected society, you are gravely mistaken. If you are always doing your best to be your own self at your very best all the time, you can't go wrong. Students, own up to your mistakes. We all make them each and every day. It's how you learn and grow from those that others see, remember, and imitate. Finally, personal courage. Face fear, danger, and adversity, both physical and moral. Today, to me, moral courage is much more demanding and difficult than physical courage. You see it nearly every day, here at school on the news, at your workplace, or in our homes. Don't be afraid to stand up for what's right. Speaking truth to power or perceived power can be difficult, but that confidence is essential in life success. Students, personal courage is the fiber within you that makes you unafraid to tell it like it is. It's also a willingness to listen to someone's problems, to go to bat for them in a tough situation. And it's knowing just how far they can go. It's also the willingness to tell those in power that they're wrong. In closing, I'd like to say thank you for letting me share my story. I'm proud of the time I served and the things I've gotten to do. I feel I've gotten more out of my time in the Army than I put in, but isn't that the way with all great experiences? If you're going to take anything away from today, please let me challenge you to be your own self at your very best all the time. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien. Our Oshkosh North Chorale would now like to add their thanks to our nation's veterans by performing the song We Remember Them.
The blowing of the wind
Thank you again to our music department. Would everyone please rise as Mr. Brad Curran plays taps as we remember those who have given their lives to defend our country. Please remain standing as the color guard retires our nation's colors.
Retire your colors. Well, face. Now up. Up. Right.
Please be seated. I would like to welcome back Mrs. Kiffmeyer for our closing remarks.
As we conclude today's honoring of our veterans, I'd like to leave you with a final thought. Veterans Day is the support of America and the incredible network of veterans, both young and old, the people who raise their right hands and voluntarily commit their service to our country to ensure that it's successful and safe. November 11th is the day to recognize those who have served and to pause for a moment to reflect on the importance of their combined impact of this great country and the immense sacrifice of our fallen heroes. Knowing that the country they fought for stands behind them is incredibly powerful and inspiring, but not often recognized. Every day, about 492 World War II veterans die. Of the 16 million who served during that war, only 855,000 remain alive. Many of our veterans have witnessed history and are walking documentations of the struggle of this country. Every time we lose a veteran, we lose a piece of history. These men and women deserve our gratitude for their willingness to serve this country and help protect our rights and our freedoms. Next time you exercise the freedom of speech, to vote, to move freely about this country, and to protect your family, you should thank a veteran. To me, every day is Veterans Day because you should be thankful for their service and should express it whenever you get the opportunity. Some veterans have never heard the words, "Thank you for your service." You could change that. So today and throughout the year, Oshkosh North, please remember to thank a veteran. I'd like to also thank Mr. O'Brien for his service. Thank you. As well as speaking today. Thank you to Kapow Bang for doing a wonderful job emceeing, and finally, to Communities for starting our first ever Sweat for the Vet, where all their proceeds were donated to help support Got Your 6 canines, which assists veterans who require a service dog. And last, I'd like to thank everyone who took time out of their day, including Representative Hintz, Mr. Roloff, Superintendent Cartwright, Central Office staff, school board members, and you, Oshkosh North community. This will conclude our celebration today. We'll start by dismissing our veterans. Once our veterans have left the gymnasium, students, you will be dismissed to third hour. Thank you for showing prideful behavior, Oshkosh North, and thank you, veterans.